New digital scan of the Titanic has offered an unprecedented insight into the ship's final moments.
2.5 miles below, in the depths of the cold and dark North Atlantic Ocean, the Titanic has lain silent for over a century. For years, scientists had only been able to reach its exterior, but now for the first time, a modern underwater drone reached its deepest, sealed parts. What began as simple research had gradually turned into a strange tension. As the drone descended, experts in the control room watched only pitch blackness on monitors. Then the camera's light beam revealed small pieces of metal, wooden planks, and personal belongings, the very things that had fallen into the ocean that tragic night in 1912. Moments later, a large shadow appeared, the Titanic's bow. Soft voices rose in the control room. There it is! As the century-old tragedy came alive on every screen. The drone slowly made its way inside. The grand staircase, corridors, and cabins were now nothing but faded skeletons. At every corner, the team felt as if time had stopped. Somewhere a watch was lying broken. Somewhere a cup was lying intact on the table. Everything was so perfectly preserved that it sent shivers down one's spine. This expedition wasn't just about recording a wreck. It was a moment of touching history. Now the drone has reached a part of the Titanic where no camera has ever gone before. What was recorded there, this footage will shock you. If you too want to see the truth of this new mission of the Titanic, then like the video, write your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because what you see next will be the realest and most haunting moment in history. The mission's primary objective was to reach areas of the Titanic that no human or camera had ever penetrated. For over a century, the ship remained hidden in the depths of the ocean, and the truth about its interior was limited to speculation. This time, scientists decided to explore the Titanic not just from the outside, but from the inside as well. Its condition, objects, and parts that had never been seen since that night in 1912. This was no ordinary expedition, but a mission that would test history, science, and technology. Experts from several countries, deep-sea archaeologists, marine engineers, sonar specialists, and data analysts were involved in this mission. They all had a single goal: to explore the sealed corridors and cabins of the Titanic without damaging them. A specially designed underwater drone was developed for this task, equipped with Ultra HD cameras, robotic arms, and sensors to provide clear footage of every corner of the interior. This drone was built to withstand high pressure and extreme cold, where no human can survive. The team had been preparing for months. Every detail, every wire, and every safety protocol was checked repeatedly, because the slightest mistake could mean the loss of 100 years of history forever. There was both excitement and fear among the crew on board, as everyone knew that the Titanic still held many secrets. No one knew what the conditions would be like inside, how fragile the structure was, and whether anything was still the same as it was when it sank. This mission was not just a search, but an attempt to speak through time. The stories of those who lost their lives on that ship would perhaps be revealed again through these cameras. The entire team's intention was clear: not sensational footage, but true documentation. The Titanic was no longer just a sunken ship, but a living testimony to the past, and this expedition was going to give that silent history a chance to speak again. The real strength of this mission was the underwater drone, specially designed for the depths of the Titanic. This wasn't just any ordinary camera or machine, but an advanced robotic explorer that could travel to the depths of the ocean, where survival is impossible. Its body was made entirely of titanium alloy to withstand the tremendous pressure at depths of approximately 12,500 feet. The pressure there is so intense that it could shatter a small ship in the blink of an eye. Yet this drone was built with such strength that it could operate there for hours. The drone was equipped with Ultra HD 8K resolution cameras that could capture crystal clear video even in darkness. Powerful LED floodlights surrounded it, transforming the dark depths of the ocean into daylight. These lights were designed to ensure they wouldn't damage the Titanic's fragile parts, yet still highlight every detail. The drone also featured robotic arms, which, if necessary, could examine objects up close without moving them. Essentially, it became both human eyes and hands under the sea. The drone's sonar sensors and laser scanners created a 3D map of the surrounding area in real time. This helped the operator understand where the ship was located and where the safest route lay. For communication, a long fiber optic cable connected it to the surface ship, providing a live video feed to the control room. This cable allowed for not only footage to be transmitted, but also commands such as turning, depth control, or light adjustments to be relayed. The entire technology seemed like something out of a sci-fi movie, but the real challenge was keeping all these systems running flawlessly in extreme cold and high pressure. Every part of the drone was temperature controlled to prevent the electronics from jamming. Engineers tested it for months, simulating every situation in Arctic-like conditions. This is why when it was sent to Titanic, the entire team was confident that it was not just a machine, but the safest and most accurate representative of human curiosity, one that could find the light of truth even in the darkness. The North Atlantic Ocean is considered one of the most difficult and dangerous regions in the world. The weather here changes instantly. At times, the waters appear calm, then within minutes, strong winds and high waves can rock the ship. Temperatures in this ocean can sometimes drop below freezing, causing layers of ice to form on the surface. Working in such an environment is difficult, as wind, temperature, and pressure, all three challenge the mission at every moment. The Titanic wreck site is located amidst these harsh conditions, hundreds of kilometers from land. At such a distance, there is no nearby help or harbor, so the research vessel must be completely self-sufficient. Fuel, food, power supply, and communication all have to be planned in advance. Ocean currents here are highly unpredictable, sometimes steady, sometimes rapidly changing the drone's direction. This is why the mission team had to work with precise calculations at every moment. The temperature in the water below drops to about 1 or 2 degrees Celsius, and the pressure is thousands of times higher than on land. This pressure can instantly damage any mechanical part or electronic circuit. Engineers specially designed the drone and communication cable for these conditions. Yet a safety check was required before every operation, as even a small mistake could result in the drone's permanent loss. Working amid these challenges was both physically and mentally exhausting for the team. The ship was constantly monitored day and night to ensure the immediate impact of any changes in weather or currents. This is why every dive was a calculated risk. No step was taken without data and a backup plan. This harsh reality of the North Atlantic demonstrates that reaching the Titanic was not just a test of technology, but also of human courage and perseverance. When the underwater drone was lowered into the cold waters of the North Atlantic, all eyes on the ship's deck were glued to the control room screens. The drone slowly descended, and within minutes its light disappeared from the ocean's surface. The camera screen now displayed only deep blue darkness, as if peering into an endless abyss. Operators were constantly monitoring depth readings and pressure data to ensure the drone's every movement. The water temperature was about 2 degrees Celsius, and currents were light but persistent. As the drone descended, tiny particles began to float in front of its lights. Salt particles and marine snow, which constantly fall in this part of the ocean. The scene was quiet but profoundly different. There was no noise, just the faint mechanical sound of instruments and occasional pings from sensors. The drone's sensors were sending pressure and temperature readings every 100 feet, which engineers on the surface were carefully analyzing. After about half an hour of descent, the camera's visibility improved slightly. The suspended particles in the water were now less visible, and the seabed began to become visible. A thin sediment layer was visible on the bottom surface. Fine sand and small stones deposited by ocean currents over centuries. Those in the control room breathed a sigh of relief, as this meant the drone was heading in the right direction and was about to approach the Titanic's wreck zone. Every few minutes, the pilot adjusted the depth and angle to ensure the drone wouldn't collide with any unseen obstacles. The crew on the ship's deck was vigilant to keep the communication cable tension-free. The entire process tested both precision and patience. Finally, the ocean floor became clearly visible on the screen for the first time. An area the human eye was reaching directly for, perhaps the first time. This moment was quiet, but it held the beginning of the discovery of centuries-old history. As the drone touched the ocean floor, the camera slowly revealed the surrounding scene. Stretching before it was a vast area, the Titanic's debris field, where parts and belongings were still scattered after its collapse. The camera's lights revealed small pieces of metal, broken wood, and scattered objects embedded in the sand. All of this had been lying there since that night in 1912, now covered in thin layers and overgrown with marine life. As the drone advanced, it spotted some clearly recognizable objects: plates, bottles, pieces of furniture, and even some shoes. These objects suggested that this area likely belonged to the part of the ship where personal belongings had fallen. Each object seemed a piece of history, now lying quietly beneath the sea. The camera recorded many objects in close-up so that experts could later analyze them. The scene was quiet, but every frame reflected the memories of that night. Experts in the control room were constantly taking notes: where each item was found, its approximate position, and its condition. This data would later be used for 3D mapping. This was extremely valuable information for marine archaeologists, as each item revealed how the ship broke apart and how its parts were scattered. The team took care to ensure that no part of the drone touched these items so as not to disturb anything. Preservation was the mission's top priority. Exploring this debris field makes one realize that the Titanic is not just a wreck, but a historical site. These plates and shoes are the last memories of the passengers who drowned in the disaster. The drone recorded hours of footage here so that future generations can better understand the event. This part was emotional, but completely factual and calm, an accurate and respectful way to connect with history. Slowly, the drone moved forward, and suddenly a massive shape appeared before the camera. At first, it was just a blurry shadow, but as the angle of the lights changed, everyone's breath stopped. It was the Titanic's bow. The same part that had pierced the waves at the beginning of its journey, now, a century later, appeared in the camera's light again. As this scene appeared on the control room screen, the entire room fell silent for a few seconds. Someone softly said, "There it is," and everyone stared intently at the screen. The bow's shape was still recognizable. Thick layers of rust and marine life clung to its edges, but the shape was the same as seen in the 1912 photographs. The drone, maintaining its distance, slowly circled around and began recording. The camera clearly showed the deck railing, anchor chain, and surrounding metal beams. The footage was so clear that every bend and mark was visible. Engineers were adjusting the angle and depth in real time to ensure the drone wouldn't collide with any structures. Researchers on the surface were constantly taking notes. Depth readings and position data were being logged every minute. Both excitement and respect were evident on their faces. Everyone knew what they were witnessing wasn't just a ship, but one of history's greatest maritime lessons. The Titanic's bow was the first witness to the disaster that forever changed the rules of modern maritime safety. This moment brought the mission to a new turning point. Months of preparation, harsh weather, and the dangers of the depths, all for this one scene. A century later, the Titanic was back before human eyes, silent, broken, but still telling its story. The narrator's voice held a slight gravity. A century later, this scene has been revealed again. This moment wasn't just a technological breakthrough, but a direct connection to history. Once the drone had completed a thorough survey of the Titanic's exterior, it was time to enter the interior, a place no one had been in for over 100 years. The atmosphere in the control room was extremely alert. Everyone was glued to their monitors, as entering the interior was the most risky part of the mission. The ship's structure was very old and fragile. If the drone made even the slightest movement or touched a wall, the entire structure could collapse. Therefore, every movement was planned with millimeter-level precision. The preservation team had given the drone pilots clear instructions in advance. Do not touch any surface and keep the lights on low. These instructions were necessary to ensure the fragile elements inside the Titanic were not disturbed. In many places, the metal was completely rusted, and even the slightest vibration could cause it to crumble. The drone's sensors were set to high sensitivity to detect even the slightest obstacle. The sonar mapping was updated every few seconds, creating a 3D image of the route. The crew's nervousness was palpable. The pilot slowly adjusted the joystick, and engineers constantly cross-checked the readings with him. Sonar specialists on the surface measured depth and distance, ensuring the drone wouldn't get stuck in a confined space. It was a slow and careful process. The entire team held their breath before advancing every inch. Finally, the camera lights revealed the first corridor inside the Titanic. The narrow passage, The thin layer of sediment and the dangling rusticles were all clearly visible. Every movement of the drone was calm and controlled, as if it understood firsthand how precious this place was. At that moment, every member of the team felt the same thing. This wasn't just exploration, but a responsibility to preserve history. The success of this mission depended more on caution and respect than technology. When the drone entered the Titanic, the camera's lights illuminated for the first time a space that had been in darkness for a century. A long, narrow corridor appeared before us, its walls now completely rusted. In some areas, thin layers of marine life had accumulated. The drone moved slowly, trying not to damage any structures. Everyone in the control room was glued to the monitors, as this footage was the clearest glimpse yet of the ship's interior. As the drone advanced, doors to old rooms and broken furniture frames became visible. In many places, wooden partitions were still in place, while some had completely collapsed. In one cabin, a broken chair and scattered metal fittings were visible. These images revealed that much of the Titanic's interior remained in its original condition, but time and pressure had gradually worn it down. Each object told its own story. A metal locker was half open, and a rust-filled railing was visible in a corner. Every piece of drone footage was valuable for research, as it revealed the layout of the ship's rooms and the direction in which objects fell during the accident. Marine archaeologists used this data to understand what might have happened inside the ship during the sinking. The atmosphere inside the Titanic was completely silent. There was no sound, only the soft hum of the drone's propellers. Every scene felt as if time had stopped. This exploration wasn't a drama, but an opportunity to witness history in its true state. The drone made every movement with utmost care, ensuring no part of the century-old ship was damaged. This moment was a perfect confluence of history, technology, and human curiosity. The drone slowly descended deeper into the ship, revealing what the world calls the heart of the Titanic, the grand staircase. As the camera's lights illuminated the area, a massive circular structure was revealed, now surrounded by layers of rust and rotted wood. This was the same place where, in 1912, the sounds of passengers, music, and conversation echoed. Today there was only calm water and broken structures, but the shape of the place was still recognizable. Every stair, every railing bore the mark of how grand it once was. For the researchers in the control room, this was the most emotional moment of the mission. The grand staircase was a symbol of the Titanic's luxury and engineering, the place where first-class passengers were welcomed. A historian who accompanied the expedition explained that the staircase was made of oak wood, an iron railing, and a large glass dome above it, allowing daylight to enter. The camera footage no longer showed the dome, but its circular frame was still visible, allowing the structure to be identified. The drone carefully circled the area, recording footage. The camera also showed where the ornate banister once stood, now consisting of only twisted metal fragments. Engineers constantly checked the drone's distance and stability to ensure vibrations would not damage the fragile structure. Shots taken from every angle were later used for mapping and restoration studies. This exploration demonstrated the Titanic's advanced design. Despite being underwater for over 100 years, many parts remain intact. A historian's voice is heard over the footage. It wasn't just stairs, it symbolized the technological and social thinking of that era. The scenes the drone recorded were not just a wreck, but a living memory of human history, a place that once witnessed splendor and is now etched in the pages of history. While the drone was recording footage inside the Titanic, some strange technical signals suddenly appeared on the control room screens. First, a camera light flickered slightly, then a sudden jump appeared in the sonar readings. The pilot immediately checked the controls and tried to stabilize the systems. Engineers explained that such minor glitches are common in deep-sea missions, as the pressure below 12,500 feet is extremely high and the temperature is near freezing point. These extreme conditions often affect electronics. Technicians on the surface ship initiated system diagnostics. Data was continuously sent through the communication cable to check for signal loss. Analysis revealed that the drone was in a narrow area with a lot of metal debris. It is possible that the surrounding corroded metal and sediment may have caused magnetic interference. The light system was put into low power mode for a few seconds, Then the brightness was gradually brought back up to allow the sensors to stabilize. All team members remained calm and focused. The marine engineer explained that water pressure at such depths can directly impact the micro-components of electronics. Therefore, every circuit and seal on the drone is checked before every dive. But slight fluctuations in the real environment are unavoidable. The sonar specialist recalibrated the readings to ensure accurate distance and mapping data. Within a few minutes, the systems returned to normal readings. The drone was stable, and the mission could proceed again. Everyone in the control room breathed a sigh of relief, but everyone realized how delicate technology operates at such depths. This glitch wasn't a sign of danger, but a reminder that deep ocean exploration is a challenging task, where every second tests caution and technical proficiency. This incident made the team even more vigilant about the need to closely monitor every signal and reading while navigating around the Titanic's delicate parts. The drone had now reached the depths of Titanic's interior, and cameras were continuously recording high-definition footage. Everything was going as normal. Walls, broken metal beams, and clouds of sediment, when suddenly something different appeared in one frame. A slight movement appeared on the screen for a few seconds, as if a shadow was shifting near a structure. The pilot immediately paused and rewinded the video feed to see in detail what it was. The control room went completely silent. Zooming in on the monitors revealed that a slight gust of sediment had risen in that part of the footage, creating a temporary haze in front of the camera. The team's sonar specialist checked the data, and there was no significant difference in the readings. Engineers explained that such motion could be caused by a variety of reasons, such as a slight water current, vibrations from the drone's propeller, or the movement of a loose object nearby. The pilot scanned the surrounding area again to ensure there was no structural collapse or debris movement. The camera was held steady for a few minutes, but no more activity was seen at that spot. Data analysts extracted a frame-by-frame recording of that area and saved it for later study. Marine biologists suggested it could be the shadow effect of a small marine organism or floating particle. The team decided to catalog it as unidentified motion, not as a conclusion. Their aim was to document each observation scientifically without adding any speculation or story. This moment was a reminder to everyone that in deep-sea exploration, nature sometimes reveals phenomena that seem unusual at first glance, but often have simple physical causes. The drone resumed its journey a few minutes later, with the same caution and precision as at the beginning. After the mission, when the drone was brought back to the surface, a review of the recorded footage and sensor data began in the control room. Every second of video, sonar reading, and temperature record was carefully analyzed. Special attention was paid to the area where the camera had captured unclear motion. Frame-by-frame footage was zoomed on a large display screen. Engineers, marine biologists, and sonar experts were all carefully observing every detail. Everyone was careful to ensure the analysis was completely scientific and factual. The marine biologist explained that such movements are often seen in deep-sea environments. He explained that microscopic marine life and tiny crustaceans constantly move around the ocean floor, and when the drone's lights fall on them, they can appear as a moving shadow. The sonar specialist explained that the light current generated by the drone's propellers can momentarily disturb the surrounding sediment, creating a visual impression of something moving in front of the camera. Engineers confirmed from data logs that the drone's thruster speed had increased slightly at that time, which may have caused slight turbulence in the water. Pressure sensors also showed no unusual readings, indicating no structural collapse or large debris movement. The team cataloged this observation as an environmental effect to provide a reference for understanding such situations in future missions. This scientific approach demonstrated that the expedition's goal was not simply to capture footage, but to maintain the data's integrity and reliability. Every explanation was documented so that future researchers could learn from this experience. At the end of the discussion, the team agreed that such anomalies are common in deep-sea missions and that studying them helps understand ocean behavior. No one tried to give it a sensational or mysterious angle. Everything remained based on pure science. When the technical review was completed, the atmosphere calmed down for a while. Monitors were turned off and many team members simply sat quietly. Everyone realized they had witnessed a piece of history the world had lost a century ago. The marine archaeologist said, "We've learned a lot from technology, but today I realize this isn't just a wreck, but a memory of thousands of lives." His voice was filled with both respect and emotion. The pilot who operated the drone said that when he first saw the bow, it felt as if time had stopped. He said, "Every plate, every railing, every object, it all tells someone's story. We should look at this place with respect, not curiosity." The preservation specialist added that leaving every part of the Titanic in its original state was the greatest respect. This is why nothing was touched or removed during the mission. The historian said that the Titanic is no longer just an accident, but a reminder that no matter how far technology advances, nature always shows humanity its limits. At the end of the expedition, when the crew looked out to sea, everyone had the same feeling, awe and humility. They didn't disturb the place, simply recorded its story so that future generations could understand it. The Titanic still lies silent in the depths. History is written on her walls. Not glory, not mystery, but a true story of human courage and fragility. This mission wasn't just an exploration, but an attempt to understand how to view the past with respect. For the team, the experience was a reminder that only science and emotion, together, can truly keep history alive. After the mission was completed, the team preserved all the recordings, data, and notes. What was achieved after days of hard work was now of immense value to both history and science. Every footage recorded by the drone provided a true glimpse of the various parts of the Titanic, from the ship's exterior to its interiors. Every detail proved that even 100 years later, this wreck still holds much to teach us. Experts stated that the next step is a detailed analysis of these recordings. 3D mapping, material decay studies, and corrosion pattern research will reveal how the Titanic structure is changing over time. This mission has provided scientists with new data for deep-sea preservation and marine archaeology, which will be useful in future expeditions. The team stated clearly that their aim was not to discover anything, but to document the history that nature has preserved. The Titanic still lies silent in the depths, but this mission showed that its story is far from over. Every beam, every wall, and every artifact still bears witness to that night. This expedition was not just a scientific breakthrough, but a symbol of respect for those who lived through the tragedy. The Titanic still sleeps in the depths, but perhaps she is no longer completely silent. If you want to see the next part of this expedition, like, comment, share, and don't forget to subscribe, because what comes next will provide an opportunity to understand history even more deeply.